How to land your dream job without any experience. I enjoyed the position of HR manager for many years, but then, as so often happens to large, struggling companies, they get taken over. This was the second acquisition I'd experienced at the phone company. I knew enough to be concerned. When I started with the company 10 years prior, there were 60,000 employees. By the time I left, there were only 30,000 of us left. The company that took us over was headquartered far away in another part of the U.S. They had their own centralized HR department. My worried mind imagined a forced march down to the new headquarters if I wanted to keep my job in HR. I immediately began looking for another job inside the newly merged company that was unlikely to be eliminated within my hometown. A business-to-business, B2B sales job caught my eye. The job was responsible for selling high-speed data lines to businesses in southeastern Idaho. I can do this. But then I began to think about how to land this job and the obstacles in my path. First, I was in human resources, not sales, where the hiring manager would be looking for applicants. Second, I didn't have the right job title to even get a second look from HR as they screened out unworthy resumes. And third, I didn't have business-to-business sales experience with this particular product. How could I land the job? I thought of a common saying I'd heard sales reps use. Companies don't buy products, people buy products. Translation, you have to know the buyer as a person and what they care about to land the sale. In that moment, the phrase morphed into, companies don't hire people, people hire people. Translation, I need to find out what the hiring manager really cares about deep down and then provide that. I decided that the hiring manager really didn't care that much about hiring. It was probably a necessary evil. What he really cared about was making sales. The territory had no sales rep, but the manager's sales quota remained the same. I needed to address his real need for sales to get his attention. So I persuaded some business owners, who were also my friends and acquaintances, to agree to speak with a company sales rep about their high-speed data services. I wrote up a business plan for the hiring manager, explaining how I recommended selling to these specific businesses. I promised I could get an appointment for him to meet with them. Within a few hours after sending this to the hiring manager, who I had never met before, he called. He thanked me, asked if I knew he was hiring for a sales position in my city, and asked if I was interested. I said it sounded interesting. Next, I asked a friend in HR that worked in the same building as this hiring manager to put in a good word for me, also known as giving me a 5-star review, to borrow the Amazon shopping term. She did it, I applied, and within a few days I was driving to the hiring manager's office in Boise, Idaho for an interview. It was a typical informal interview, as we call it in the HR world. The hiring manager sat across the desk and asked whatever questions came to mind, trusting his gut to let him know if I'd be a good fit for the position. In Idaho, we call this being a good judge of horseflesh. He asked surprisingly few questions, but that was okay since I'd already prepared 3 good examples from my work history that showed my strengths in action. I watched the clock carefully to ensure that all 3 made it into the interview, which lasted about an hour because we had to change conference rooms partway through. At one point, a sales rep from his team interrupted the interview to talk through a buyer situation. I figured this was some sort of a test and just went with it, adding my input as I joined in on the conversation. After the interview, I was sure that I'd either gotten the job or that the hiring manager had no interest in me from the start. I couldn't tell which until a few days later he called to offer me the position. There is a lesson here. Most managers feel they are good interviewers, but research says otherwise. Peter Drucker, the father of modern management theory, said that managers decide within the first 10 minutes of an interview if they like someone. Then they spend the rest of the interview justifying that decision. They are only correct a third of the time. That's not great odds of getting the decision right if all the hiring manager has is a resume and how their gut feels about the person. So how does this help you land your dream job? By knowing that the interviewer isn't holding all the cards, you are in a much more powerful position than you think, especially if you've been able to research the hiring manager ahead of time. Whenever you have an interview, be certain to ask the HR recruiter who sets up the appointment lots of questions about the person who will be conducting the interview. Their name, job title, about their job duties, etc. Then go look up everything else online, their work history, what schools they attended, hobbies, family, especially any professional blog posts or industry accomplishments they've achieved. We'll talk more about this step in future chapters. Now back to my story. I landed the job and in the process learned a ton about marketing myself correctly. The story doesn't end there. Now I had to effectively market myself to business clients across southern Idaho. Without even knowing it, I started down a journey that would lead me to discover the new modern job search based upon a concept called account-based marketing, or ABM. Account-based marketing is forever changing how individuals get the attention of specific decision makers within the companies they target or they want to work for. Gone are the days when a shotgun approach to job hunting or sales, like mass marketing yourself to every business around, will actually work. A modern job search requires modern search techniques. Here are the steps to use account-based marketing to land your dream job. Don't worry, it's simple. Scripts and templates in this course will help you every step of the way. First, identify targeted companies. Next, identify decision makers. Then create your industry experience. Create your proper job title. Get introduced. Interview decision makers. Deliver a proof project to help that hiring manager accomplish their specific goals. Get referred for the job. When done correctly, this brings guaranteed results. The following chapters explain in detail how to use account-based marketing to land your dream job. Read the excerpt below from an interview explaining exactly what is meant by account-based marketing. You'll learn how I refined this guerrilla marketing approach to advertise beneath the radar of the corporate marketing department I worked for. Then we will get started on your own marketing plan to land your dream job. Here's the real-world example. How an idea sketched on a napkin turned into $1 million in just 9 months. It's an interview that explains account-based marketing, or ABM. In his podcast interview for Mixergy, Sangram Vijay explained that his company only sells to businesses. He said, "It's not like in B2C, a business selling to consumers. In B2C, a business is selling to everybody. In B2B, however, you're only targeting business decision makers within a small niche. You want to figure out the company you need to target, what's the job title there, and then who the individual is." He continues, "There is a divide between marketing and sales, especially in B2B. The sales department is so much more sales-driven than marketing. The sales department asks, 'Why are you creating these leads that don't turn into customers?' It's not important to go after everybody, just like in a job search. It's important to know who you want to go after." So, while on a plane ride, Sangram Vijay literally flipped the sales funnel drawn on a napkin and said, "What if I start here? What if I know which companies to go after? What if I identified them? Would I start engaging only them with only the message they care about? So I'm not running the quantity game, I'm running a quality game, and then turning them into advocates." You can read or listen to the rest of the interview on Mixergy. So, as a new B2B outside sales rep, I took this new concept of ABM to heart. My company's marketing department was only concerned with overall brand awareness and driving sales leads to inexpensive online channels. I was on my own to market my telecommunication services for myself. As is so common, I was forbidden to use the corporate logo or any of its websites for local marketing. I turned instead to guerrilla marketing, staying just below the radar of my employer's marketing department. I set up informal websites using small local telecom company logos and names belonging to these partners who sell complementary products. I was their unpaid extern and could use whatever job title I wanted. They were happy for the exposure, and I got to customize my marketing messages to generate sales leads for myself. Using these local brands, I created educational events and sent out regular educational newsletters to potential clients. I gave free value and free help to every IT department within my geographic territory, and the sales began to pour in. I knew the days of cold calling were over. The modern way to sell or to get hired is to create free value for others and make that value easily searchable online. And that's how this course will help you land your dream job.